Thank you so much for joining. And I see people have joined us from different parts of the world, and that makes the entire environment so nice. So we are here as part of Facilitation Week, a global celebration led by the International Association of Facilitators. And this week brings in together a lot of facilitators, coaches, leaders, change makers from around the world to recognize the power of facilitation. It's my first year. I'm part of the IAF team and I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Learning, maybe sometimes doing mistakes, and enjoying the entire journey. Well, IF, I've seen it believes, in the power of collaboration, inclusion, and participatory leadership, the values that resonate strongly with the coaching community too, and I've seen ICF resonating the same. So tonight we bring together voices from both these communities to explore, reflect, and share perspectives that will enrich us all. Thank you once again for being here, and I now hand over to Vinisha.
Junction முடிச்ச உடனே
Requesting everyone to please mute yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, you heard the voice. Well, joining us today is Vinisha Jayaswal, a seasoned group process facilitator, an ICF coach, and a passionate enabler of human transformation. With over 2 decades of experience, she brings a rare blend of insight, empathy, and impact to every conversation. One of which I actually personally experienced in the morning. I had a good conversation with her, almost 25 minutes, and I understand what exactly she's into. She's doing great. A 4-time IAF Facilitation Impact Award winner and former chairperson of the IAF India Chapter. So, Vinisha, with this, I hand over the stage to you and we start the session. I am here as a participant, ready to learn from you and all the panelists here.
Thank you so much, Tanushree. We are also, as panelists, we are also learners in this community here today. So we are here to learn from the participants, from each other.
किसके लिए?
So, just a request. Murali, you're the host. Priya Ramesh, just put her on mute. That's
I
possible
will send you my doctor's prescription right now. Hanji? No omaze or anything.
Anita ji, Priya ji, you will have to be.
Thank you, Murali. Thank you so much for that. Part of online session.
Yeah, that was
great.
The banter I was talking about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Murali, for that. So when I decided that, I wanted to do something to promote the power of facilitation, especially during the facilitation week, I remembered that ICF would also be celebrating that coaching week at this same time. And so I reached out to Sudha Krishnan, who's the vice president of the ICF Hyderabad Chapter. Sudha readily agreed, and we discussed how we could have a unique conversation integrating coaching and facilitation to empower systems and people. So today in our panel discussion, we're going to discover how coaching and facilitation complement each other, how professionals integrate both to serve individuals and systems, and what boundaries matter when working across these roles. Quite a few of us on the panel here don both the hats, credentially, and even I think all of us don the hat, even some of us non-credentially as well. So it doesn't really matter, but what matters is the conversation. So to begin this conversation, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce the moderator of our discussion today, Ms. Sudha Krishnan. Sudha is an ICF certified PCC coach specializing in team and relationship coaching. And she's also the co-founder of Dialogue in the Dark, something I have personally experienced. And for those of you in Hyderabad, I urge you to please go and experience the Dialogue in the Dark sessions, which Sudha and her husband conduct. With over 34 plus years of experience and about 2,500 coaching hours, she helps leaders and teams build trust, emotional intelligence, and authentic connection. Sudha has facilitated about 500 plus immersive workshops in total darkness, impacting over 10,000 participants and shifting how organizations think about inclusion and empathy. Her work blends modern psychology, mindfulness, and systemic coaching to create safe, insightful spaces for transformation. Whether coaching in boardrooms or guiding powerful experiences in the dark, Sudha is deeply committed to helping people connect with themselves and each other in a meaningful, lasting way. And I couldn't be more grateful to Sudha, to ICF, and all the panelists here today for accepting my invite to bring this entire session to you today. Thank you, everyone, and over to Sudha.
Thank you so much, Vinisha, for the lovely introduction. And I welcome all the members of IAF and ICF here. I think this is a great space, a great testimony of how two organizations can come together. And I think all of you know that we are celebrating both the coaching week and the facilitation week. I think Tanushree spoke about little about the facilitation week. For those who don't know, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about the International Coaching Week. It is very significant for us this year because we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of ICF. And while we are doing this session, I think the ICF is also celebrating over 130 countries, over 30 languages, almost 1,200 events celebrated over a week. I'm sure there are some numbers like that for IAF as well. I think that's the power of how when people come together can make significant impact to the professional world, to the transformation work that we bring in. I think we've already taken a lot of time, but I would like to introduce our panel members today before we actually start into the session, right? So not in any particular order, I would like to introduce Mr. Yateen Gharat. He's a seasoned leadership development expert and a master facilitator with over 3,500 corporate workshops to his credit. He specializes in leadership, vision planning, and group process facilitation, and serves on the boards of 6 HR and training organizations. He is the creator of Transformational Facilitation Skills, a program that he has designed, plus 40 plus facilitation processes and 3 major frameworks. I'm sure most of you here would know him, a core team member of the IAF Mumbai Hub since 2013. He also mentors globally through IAF. He is a visiting faculty at TIS and co-author of Fast Forward to Facilitation. He is a certified mountaineer, and Yateen blends 34 years of adventure and survival experience into his unique experiential facilitation style. The second person that I want to invite and introduce today is Professor Shivdasini Amin. She's a distinguished leadership and learning strategist. She's an ICF Master Certified Coach and Transformation Facilitator with over 2 decades of experience across diverse sectors. Known for integrating business acumen with deep coaching presence, Dr. Amin brings a rare blend of strategic thinking and human insight. Her work spans corporate leadership development, management education, mentor coaching, and supervision. With a global outlook and grounded wisdom, she inspires growth, reflection, and authentic leadership in every engagement. She loves to bake, she talks to her plants, and she also does the salsa. So the next person I want to introduce is Kamakshi Shikha. She is a PCC's credential coach with over 20 years of experience as a corporate trainer. She brings a unique blend of expertise as a trained psychotherapist, certified dietitian, and heartfulness meditation practitioner for 31 years. Her coaching style is holistic, working with the body, mind, and soul to support personal transformation. Kamakshi helps clients process the past through therapy, engage with the present through facilitation, and achieve future goals through coaching. Her value-based, client-centric approach draws from positive psychology and fosters deep, meaningful growth in individuals and leaders alike. Last but not the least, Dr. Murali Padmanabhan. He's a PCC certified leadership coach, a OD consultant, and facilitator with over 3 decades of experience in corporate and consulting roles across TCS, Deloitte, and Virtusa. With a PhD in applied mathematics, he blends analytical depth with a strong focus on human development. Murali specializes in executive coaching, leadership development, and organizational transformation. His coaching is grounded in adult development and systems thinking, supported by certifications in SEI, EQ, Hogan, and Harrison assessments. To his credit, he has 1,000+ coaching hours. He empowers leaders to grow with clarity, purpose, and impact. With such a, dignified panel with wide experiences across, I now would like to start the conversation today by asking this first question. What does this title, Beyond Boundaries, mean to you in practice? I invite Murali and Kamakshi to share their views.
Okay, so one thing that I really noticed being a facilitator and a coach, I think both are, helping professions. What I really like about both the professions is you get, whether it's a group, whether it's an individual, you get people to know beyond understanding. Now, this is a pretty loaded and cliched statement. So what is know beyond understanding? We all know to understand, we want to really understand how things work, what's happening and stuff like that. But I think there is always a felt experience that individuals have. Both coaching and facilitation give pave a way for creating that experience, be it individuals or groups of people. That's what I believe is going beyond the boundaries. Over to you, Kamakshi.
Kamakshi, you're on mute.
Thank you. So that was very insightful, Murali. So adding to what you have said, for me, coaching is working with individuals, as we know, and facilitation is with groups of people. But beyond boundaries, it's about the transformation which happens at personal and professional lives in terms of pushing their limiting beliefs and fears, doubts. These are the things which we help people overcome, either in coaching or in facilitation, and expanding the possibilities of thinking bigger and bolder. This is what coaching and facilitation does in terms of beyond the barriers. So it is also about collaboration. It is about breaking the barriers in terms of cultural, societal, so many layers which we have in our minds and in our belief systems. We slowly break one after the other and then achieve the highest human potential in either of these two. Collaboration is what brings people together to achieve greater goals in facilitation, moving beyond boundaries. And coaching, it just transforms the inner being. This is my thought and understanding, Sudha.
Wonderful. I think both of you together are talking about beyond boundaries as beyond understanding and beyond transformation, and then so many layers you added to it, Kamakshi. I just want to understand, how do you see coaching and facilitation contributing to systems change? I think this question I would want Kamakshi and Shivdasini probably to explore.
Evening, everybody. So when we talk about coaching and facilitation, both are powerful levers for systems change. right? Coaching ignites personal transformation and expands awareness and deepens the responsibility of the individual and makes the leaders perform from purpose rather than habit. Whereas facilitation creates conditions for collective dialogue and sense-making of what is happening around you, and therefore enabling co-creation. Now, both build capacity within the system, but coaching humanizes change, whereas facilitation democratizes it, right? So we've been hearing a lot of coaches saying coaching needs to be democratized, coaching needs to be democratized. But when coaching is seen as a tool for personal transformation, I think facilitation is what democratizes it. Yeah, both are essential for stewarding systemic shifts to make it sustainable, inclusive, and also wise, right? Not just driven by numbers. And adding a humanistic aspect to it, right? So facilitation allows diverse voices to reshape entrenched narratives in the system. And therefore, it has the capability of bringing about power shifts.
Kamakshi, do you want to add to that?
Yep. So adding to what Shivdasini has said, I think coaching and facilitation, as we already said, it enables transformation. And coaching enables transformation at an individual level, whereas facilitation takes it to team level, organization levels, which collectively influences the larger system at a systemic level, right? And when you see it as a coach, what is that it does in impacting the systems change? Like individuals develop self-awareness, they have a clarity, resilience, and once they shift their mindsets, their behaviors and decision-making capacities increase, which actually affects the system at large. Facilitation, it is more about collaboration and creating those spaces across cultures in terms of sectors, cultures, hierarchies. And then you build trust and collective ownership for change.
So Sudha, I just wanted to kind of also make a very controversial statement. I think it's commonly thought that facilitation is only done for groups. But I think as a coach, I have used facilitation techniques with single clients as well. Just to give an anecdote, there has been a client of mine who works in a technology firm, highly rational, logical. If you ask him a question, how do you feel? He would only give his thoughts. So it became very difficult for him to feel and sense. So I had to take him through a facilitative process, using psychodrama techniques to be able to make my client feel, right? That is a facilitative process. It's not a coaching process at all, because it's very directive. You give instructions and you take them through a process. But in the moment when I was doing, I was very clear in my mind that I'm not being a coach, but I am being a facilitator, right? So facilitation is generally directed towards groups, a group of people, but it can also be used in a one-on-one setting, is what I would like to add.
That's a very
Sudha, just two sentences from me. Sorry.
Sure, Yateen, sure. Go ahead.
My realization since 2001 is in coaching, there is facilitation, and in facilitation, there is coaching. These two are the two sides of coin. The name of that coin is transformation. Thank you. I'm done.
Wow.
So to just finish my, sentence, like when Murali pitched in, I totally agree the viewpoint of what Murali has said. But when you look into the competencies and when you're going for any certification and all, they have a distinction. And they ask you for agree. you change your agreement and then you recontract with your client, taking through a facilitation process or through a coaching process. So it depends on since we are talking about ICF and IAF, I totally agree that asking questions, deep listening are all a part of both facilitation and coaching. However, when we are just looking at competencies and trying to fit into the roles what any organization certifies you and puts you there, I think we just try to stick to the rules because that is where we have agreed to. And I totally agree with Yateen when he said that there are two sides of the coin and both are inseparable. And thanks for this insight, Murali.
Yeah, thanks for actually bringing that point, Murali. And I love the way Yateen put it, right? It's two sides of the same coin, and the coin is called transformation. Yeah, and I think both the modalities, I think the foundation that we are working for, or the foundation on which we are working for, is transformation. That's what we serve to our clients. Transformation is what we are serving. In fact, there's an interesting question from Ravi. While he was listening to you, he has asked this question, right? How do you navigate the boundaries between coaching and facilitation when working with complex systems? I think, adding to what Kamakshi said and Murali said, I think it is that distinctness that we need to bring in our roles. And I think as we are working with more complex systems and rapid change, I think there is a fluidity in the way we move between these roles in one engagement. As Murali was explaining, right, when he had to actually introduce psychotrauma, probably I'm sure as a coach, you would have sought the permission from the client and made the role clarification clearly, called it out, and then he would have taken them through the process. So it's like so integrated. It is too distinct. Many times we look at it as two distinct process, but yet as Yateen's side, it's two sides of the same coin, and then it's in the fluidity and the ease with which we move from these two roles. That's going to make a great transformation work that we are doing. So would you want to answer that question, any one of you? How do you navigate these boundaries?
So I can take that. So I remember there was a time when, I was in one of the interventions that I was doing, a transformational cultural intervention back at work. It started off as a facilitated session. And during that time, I realized that, there were, while the participants were agreeing on everything, but I could really sense that there was some underlying power dynamics, unspoken blames between, different departments and all of that. And that's when I brought in a bit of systemic coaching in there, and of course, with the permission of the participants, I dove into that. And what I did was I got each department to place themselves physically in the room on how they felt in the organization. So in one end of the corner, I could see, the pathology team, they stood there. The nursing team was like right in the center. And there was an ops team who was standing there, but like with, folded body language and things like that, arms and all folded. And when we paused and we just looked around in the room, we could actually see the shift. The whole room was so quiet and we could actually see the shift. And this actually helps the group to really think and see that though they are kind of agreeing to things on the surface, there's a lot of underlying emotions that needed to come out over there. So after that, we recontracted and then continued with the entire facilitation. So that definitely, this definitely goes hand in hand. And I think, when you're a seasoned coach and a good facilitator, it requires certain skills, and it requires, you have to be very careful with it. Just because, we know a little bit of coaching or we know a little bit of facilitation, we should not very loosely play around with it. Because at the end of the day, you're impacting the group or you're impacting the individuals in that room. So we need to be very careful when we're treading both these paths?
So, I have a quick take, and that
Sure.
is, there are none. And I support this by saying the transformation is what wants to happen, what wants to emerge. The boundaries that we look at are the needs of corporate governance and contracting and all of those formalities. That's my take on this. Thank you. I'm done.
Yeah, while I agree, Yateen, these are the corporate ethics and things like that. But I think sometimes it's also with the clients when we deal with, I feel that, this role clarity or this, role confusion is something that can be real for the clients that we work with, that we might want to call it out from time to time as to what role are we playing at a particular time so that the expectations match. Yeah. With that, the other question that comes to me, Yatin, probably I would love you to answer this. How do you decide when to coach, when to facilitate, or when to blend the two?
As I said, within the facilitation, there are coaching opportunities. Imagine a scenario that there is a workshop happening and you see that one participant is bit off and there are visible question marks. You walk up to person and you ask, and person says, "I'm not getting it. I mean, I'm at loss." And then what happens is you ask questions which help that person to go deep inside and make sense of what's happening in the surrounding, then make sense of what's happening within him, and then eventually make sense of what is the outcome that we are working at. So since the time 1999, I was an outbound facilitator. I've come across these solid situations where I need to deal with person one to one. In there, no coaching contract, nothing. In there, handle that situation. Definitely not in the group and in the visibility of everybody else. So, yes, in current scenario, Sudha, if you ask me, and I mean to all the people who are present here, there is intervention, and to support that intervention, there is coaching. And that's how, for me, when the initial contract for change is made, it's number of workshops and in between coaching pieces which support the transformation really well. It sits in really well for the people to go, because workshop cannot bring about change. It's the after workshop, when they go back to their real life, to their environment, that's where they start looking at the possibilities and applicabilities. That's where the hand holding, confusion, lots of question marks are there. That's where coaching works wonderfully. That's how I deal with it, Sudha. Thank you.
Yeah. Vinisha, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. I absolutely agree with Yateen that, coaching would emerge in the moment if it's a facilitated program. However, having said that, going back to the ICF, the competencies which state that, we must let the clients also know that there is going to be coaching involved in this particular intervention. So if I have to approach it, I would ideally look at three things. One, of course, is what is the outcome? What's the stated outcome by the client? What is the system ready for coaching? Because I've also worked in a system which was not ready for coaching initially, and then we had to get them ready to make it bring in a coaching culture into the organization. And also, what is really emerging in the moment? So, like Yateen rightly said, you start a session, a facilitated session. It may require you to bring in a little coaching over there because some participants may have a lot of questions. Sometimes, as Murali rightly said, you're in a coaching session and then you might just have to bring in a facilitation process or a method into the whole thing. So I would really look at the blend like that.
as I was listening to you, I was, remembering one of the engagements that I had to do. Though it started as a facilitation, as you very rightly said, Vinisha, there will be an emergence where we may have to coach individuals in the group. I still remember there was this team which was facing an internal conflict, and they had a lot of lack of trust. So the sessions were created for the teams to, go through a safe, structured space for honest conversations, using some specific interventions that we were using. But later, the individual coaching sessions actually has helped those individuals to process their emotions, probably to enhance their awareness as to what happened in the group process, and then to commit to, new ways of being or, actions that they could take. So it all makes absolute sense as I'm just hearing you both here. Yep, I see some questions.
I just have a slightly one different perspective. I think facilitation starts, it actually focuses on developing the organization, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an OD intervention. Coaching starts from the individual, right? So it depends on how you approach the transformation. Do you want to kind of look at the organization level transformation, or do you want individuals to change and transform the organization? So I think both ways it's good. Depends on how you're approaching it. What's the nature of the change and nature of the transformation that you're talking about in an organizational context. Coaching also talks about personal transformation, which is completely out of the organization, and it works at an individual level.
Yeah. I'd just like to add then, Murali. So when you say coaching is at a personal level, definitely at a personal level, and that would definitely going to impact the leader's team. So there are many a times.
No, that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that if you're really approaching an organizational transformation, you start the transformation from two ways, right? Absolutely. So it's a big bang. The whole organization needs to change its process, completely move away from what they are doing and all of that. So it's an organizational change that you're driving. So that brings in a large group, interventions, small group interventions, individual interventions. You could plan that way, right? That's what facilitation does. Whereas you start with an individual, you have a group of leaders, and you say these people have to lead change in the organization. So you start with the individuals, and then you rise up to create the organizational change, which might require facilitations at a later stage. So the question is, where do you start? That's all I'm saying. I'm saying both are possible. Both impact organizations. Yeah, it's a question of where do you start.
So here is Murali. I completely agree with you, and I look at it this way. But then later on, during my practice, I realize it's not or. It's not coaching or facilitation. It's and. And that's where the blended approach, they say the cocktail is lethal. So cocktail works. I don't know about people. There are absolute coaches, so they would go with coaching. There are absolute facilitators, they would go with that. But hey, guys, I invite all of you to do both just to see unbelievable, unimaginable outcomes and transformation.
No, so Yateen, I also did not say it is either or, right? I'm saying no organization starts both, starting at an individual level and at an organization level. Generally, my experience is, depending on what's the nature of change or the transformation, they start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, right? So it can be an individual level. They say, okay, we start with these group of leaders and then go into a big bang transformation of the organization because they're going to lead it, right? So like, for example, there is this whole instrument called leadership agility, which actually prepares leaders to lead change and transformation.
Change, yes.
So you prepare them first, and then it's a facilitated approach where you actually help them go make the transformation in the organization. That's one approach. I'm not saying that's the only approach. Some people say, no, we work with the entire system and we will start, doing the diagnosis and work with the entire system. So you're working at the organizational level. So the question is, where do you start? I mean, that's what I was referring to.
Makes sense. Makes sense, Murali. Makes sense.
In fact, on that point, the other thing that comes to my mind is, today we are more and more talking about organizations also getting into team coaching. So when we talk about, situations where we are contracting for a team coaching, where there we are talking about facilitation is as part of it, sometimes even training, right? Probably the team that we are coaching, then they take a decision. Yes, probably we might want to get trained on listening skills. We all find that, our listening needs to improve. So we might want to do a training on listening. And then we do a facilitation work on trust building. And then we do team coaching as well. And then there could be a need where we might want to do one-on-one coaching for the different team members, though the same team coach most probably will not engage, but we'll bring in another coach who will probably do this. So I'm seeing more and more, like how Yateen said, and of course Murali agreed, it's no more about this or that. The way two organizations today have come together to celebrate the coaching week and facilitation week, I'm also seeing more and more we are stepping into those days where we will start blending these two approaches. And as I said, together, what we serve to our clients is transformation. And then to be able to do this, I think we are not going to choose one over the other. That's the sense I'm getting as I'm hearing all of you into this conversation. I see Adar asking this question. What are those situations where I need to juggle the hat of coaching and facilitator? Who would like to take that? Is there any? Yes, Shiva.
So when you're talking to an individual, coaching is a better strategy. When you're doing one-to-many, facilitation is a better strategy. Adhir, if that answers your question. Because when you're coaching somebody, you're looking at the internal dynamics of a person, emotions, beliefs, patterns, so on and so forth. Whereas when you're talking about facilitation, you're talking about the group dynamics and how you can facilitate change and mind shifts over there. So that's the essential difference.
I mean, I would not possibly be prescriptive in answering that question. It's actually very situational and very subjective, right?
Very
true.
So you cannot really give a formula saying that, oh, this is where I will use facilitation and this is where I will use coaching. The example that I gave, though it was a coaching contract, but if my client is struggling and is not able to kind of have a felt experience of the coaching session, then with permission, I need to really look at some alternate methods. But having said that, largely what Shivdasini said works, right? So that could just be a kind of a marker, but it's not a rule.
I agree with you, Murali. I have another comment to make here. When you talk about facilitation, and this is my experience, Murali, and you can put in your comment. When there's intra-role conflict within the person, perhaps facilitation needs to come in even when you're doing one-to-one, right? Whereas when it is then it's more facilitation more often than not. So again, it depends on the context, like Murali very clearly said. Conflict between my role as a father, as a husband, as a CEO, as a team leader, perhaps you need to use some facilitation techniques.
Yeah. So I also tend to slightly, disagree with that, because I just cannot really, I know ICF and IAF prescribe, this is coaching and that is facilitation. But as a practitioner, I find it extremely difficult to kind of, say that this is facilitation and this is coaching. I'll give you an example. So one of the challenges as a coach we have is the client brings a then and there situation in the here and now. Mm-hmm. There is always editing of information because they don't remember everything that was done then. When they're narrating to you, they give their version of the story of what happened. Many times they're not able to see their own role in that situation. Right? Questions, they say, I remember, and mind forgets a lot of things. So getting them to have a bodily felt experience of how that situation was brings to life what happened then and there in the here and now. I think that's a big, validation a coach can bring to their coaching. Many a times I have struggled with that. The clients come and say, "Oh no, that's fine. This is what the story was, and I did everything right, and the other person was wrong, and all of that." But that's not the truth. But when they take an objective view of that situation, which is a process, like psychodrama or psychodynamic techniques, then they get to see, yeah, oh man, I was also part of the problem, right? That's a great awareness to have. So my point is, yes, we can be very, clinical about the definitions. As a mathematician, I love definitions. So you can be clinical, but I don't think in these human processes definitions work. That's my view.
So, Murali, what you say is, like, as humans are dynamic, the roles we hold also become dynamic. And how intelligent we are to that situation and how perceptive we are is all that matters. So there is no prescribed role that at this point you do this and at this point. So you are self-aware and you take the situation as it comes. Thank you.
What I see, remember in the 1990s, we didn't know where video technology is going to do. And then mobile technology came in, and then the digital aspects of, we saw convergence of everything, right? Similarly, we're seeing a convergence here, right? Mindset is literally the same. You need to have presence, you require deep listening, so on and so forth. Your tool set and your skill set may slightly vary. And as a change agent, you need to have both the skill set and the tool set along with the mindset to bring about change and transformation. Yeah. So again, it goes back to not either or, but to amalgamate as many techniques and tools that you can learn to bring about that shift.
I know some of you have already shared some, examples, but it might be useful if one of you can, share a scenario where you actually blended both, which really added more value to the client in your engagements.
I can go for that because I have a quick one. Almost always I use both consciously while remaining in the consciousness of my own awareness, what I'm doing. So somebody talked about the hats. So these are all invisible hats. Guess what, guys? I mean, I have this statement to make, and that is, we don't work for coaching and facilitation. We work for clients' desired outcome. And when we work for clients' desired outcome, what works there, that works. I have ended up debriefing activity which client could not or did not do. Activity not done, and that was debrief for 2 hours. Now, debriefing, sometimes mentoring, sometimes asking that question which presupposes answer when person would go deep inside and consider the full extent of that question. That is a power of question. So for me, the common denominator that really holds coaching and facilitation and transformation together is ability to ask and create those questions. And guess what? Asking questions when, where, anytime, anywhere. Where there is an opportunity for transformation, a question can be asked. And if question can be asked and considered by other person, well, transformation is on. I'll rest here. Thank you.
And, we've already, I think, touched upon it, right? Like, I think Murali made a mention, whether it is ICF or IAF, we share a lot of core competency, both in coaching and facilitation. And now Yateen also called out, right? Questioning as one foundation for both coaching and facilitation. What else do you think that we share in common between IAF and ICF in our competencies? Yeah, Murali.
It may not be a exact call out in ICF, but I think content neutrality is something that we as coaches need to practice, and IAF talks a lot about that. Content versus process, right? So as a coach, when I say content, it's not just knowledge cognitive content. It could be my own bias. It could be my own viewpoint. It could be my own beliefs. These are also content, right? As a coach, I need to be really, really mindful of how I'm showing up in the coaching session, right? How can I be devoid of all that and still be fully present for my client? That's one thing that I see as common. Of course, there are competencies, there is this whole presence, listening, questioning. I think all these competencies are very common. But content neutrality is not, it's not explicitly called out in ICF competencies, but in IAF, we talk a lot about this, right? So content neutrality is something that we need to really, really think as coaches as well.
I think in a way, though not directly like that, I think I'm sure as a coach you would agree, Murali. Coaching mindset covers that aspect, in my opinion, as a competency, which is inclusive of all that you spoke about. Yeah. So,
Sudha, would you like me to add something?
Sure, please.
So when you look at the competencies in both ICF and IAF, so I was just looking at it, and the competency 2 and 3, just because we said, okay, let's look at what is that which is similar. So establishes the coaching agreement, that is competency 2, and competency 3 establishes trust and intimacy with the client. That is from ICF. And from IAF, we have creates a collaborative client relationship. That is competency A. And competency B is plans appropriate group processes, and then we have a shared essence and all this. So what is that which is the core of these two things is building trust. That is the core thing. And once you build a trust with either a single client or the group of participants in your session, they're all ears. And you have created that collaborative presence for them, an environment where there is trust and safety. We know that it's about confidentiality. We have all this in agreement placed, and both in coaching and in facilitation. That actually triggers the entire, I think the session goes towards the outcomes naturally, because the vulnerability sets in and you're not pretending, but in that space, so many things emerge naturally. And you're not even planning to ask what is the next question to ask, for the question naturally comes in. And the moment you are tuned into your participants, it is like a dance. You see them, you move towards them, and then the questions and everything is so dynamic. And this is what I see happening, and that is the core. So building trust and providing that space, either as a collaborator in forms of facilitation or just being the presence as a coach. That itself is the seed for transformation.
And to top it all up, I think both of these, whether it is coaching or facilitation, both of them have competencies that talk about facilitating growth and ownership. Like in coaching, we, the end, we ask the client, what is it that you would like to do now? Ensure accountability and action. And in coaching, it's the group. We ask, in facilitation, it's the group that we're asking, what is it that you would like to do now with the result of what we've come up with? So, both of these foster growth and ownership. And of course, both of this also gives space for reflection and feedback. So that's the beauty of both of these, a blend of both. And that's why I also agree that, you can't really say that I'm only going to use facilitation now and I'm only going to use coaching now. You don't know what emerges when.
Yeah. No.
And that's what ICF earlier used to use this phrase, dancing in the moment. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think for all those coaches and facilitators who are probably wearing only one of the hats now, I think this conversation would have made it very clear for them that we share the competencies, we share the skills. It is the transformative work that we are working. It is the space, as beautifully highlighted by Kamakshi. Trust is what we first build in, right? And we give that space in both the work. What would you want to tell a coach who is considering facilitation or vice versa? what would you have to tell them? Because most of you in the panel here, you're actually wearing both the hats, but here in the audience, we might have people who are considering the other one. Since now it's very tempting, right? Oh, the competencies are the same, the work is the same, everything is the same. So why can't I become a facilitator or why can't I become a coach? What would you want to tell them?
I just have one comment. I think in a world that we are living in, to be able to see a human as a human, that space is reducing. We are just kind of busy. In our busyness, we just look past human beings. I think these spaces, both these processes, allow you to really witness the human, either in groups or in individuals. It's a beautiful process, and whether you're a coach or a facilitator, it's always good to have a bag full of tools, because you never know when it will be required. And like they say, you can never pour from an empty cup or a jug, right? You need to constantly, keep learning. And I think both of them give enough opportunity for us to learn about us and about other human beings.
Yateen, Shiva, Vinisha, Kamakshi,
I would like to add, that while each of these crafts, they do have their own depth. Each domain has its own depth. So for anyone, since I wear both the hats, so for anyone starting, whether it is facilitation or whether it is coaching, work on the competencies. That's the one space that you can actually check whether you are a facilitator or you are embodying, a coaching mindset or a facilitative mindset. Though they are similar and they do overlap, there's also some slight difference where there may be a time you may not use a process, but you'd rather use coaching, or you may not use coaching and you'd rather use a process. So understanding what and when to do that comes only once you know the competencies and when you know the difference within the two and when to tread that path. Also, start with humility, curiosity, and a beginner's mindset. Very, very important. Make mistakes in the right places. IAF gives you the platform, in our 3D labs that we conduct every month at the different hubs. Grab that opportunity to showcase your facilitation skills and seek feedback from our, CPFs who are there in the respective hubs. So do that, and don't really rush to blend the two. I would say master each one slowly, and don't think, how do I bring it together? Understand what facilitation is separately, understand what coaching is separately, and then it's on you. It's your presence as a coach or a facilitator to decide what to use when. So that's my 2 bits for anyone who's, trying to wear the other hats.
Yeah.
I think I would go for this. Is the human element that is the central idea? And my answer to the question is do both. Because that's going to help you, it's going to enrich your repertoire. And the more tools you have, the more understanding of methodologies you have, you will be better in doing the transformation work. Having said that, in real time, when change happens, we approach it using variety of tools. But when change happens, there is something known as emergence. Okay, paying attention to that emergence. And that's where the right methodology, right time, right occasion, and all those things come in picture. Do both. We from IAF, in fact, there are many people here and there are many people I know, they have been investing their time in understanding authentic facilitation, and which is good. So one of the MCC, I wouldn't take name, but the person was there. He said, I'm just validating my understanding of facilitation. Just to understand, is it right? But somewhere that need to happen. And then the so-called, am I You need facilitator. Okay, then you need to go to so-called certified professional facilitator with the accolade, with masters, and then maybe you go to MCC. And these are all pieces of paper. But what I respect all these people is they have really achieved phenomenal by creating that change. And there are many people I know who are without any accolades and certificates who do much, much better job. So is the invitation to take a look at the competencies, integrate them, synthesize them, embody them, and use them for change work. Ultimately, you see system, there are no changes without systemic. So systemic changes are the only one which will hold on. System will keep on giving you feedbacks. So your certificate will not help. What will help is look at the client. Is he or she walking away with the change, with the desired outcome? If that's happening, everything else is great. And of course, going for certification, it calls for your commitment. It calls for your, to what extent you have synthesized all those competencies. So invitation to both coaches and facilitators to please do learn both, do practice both, and eventually do master both. In the times to come down the line, 10 years, we talk about singularity. I don't want to get into AI. I'm completely novice in that. But then we will need human beings who are able to understand human beings, who are able to help them remain human.
Mhm.
The time will be difficult, and coaches can do that better. Facilitators can do that. I stop here. Thank you.
I think I would just like to add one thing here with Sudha's permission.
Of course, Tanu.
Yeah. So for a person like me, for whom IAF and ICF, is new, and it's my first year with both the organization. I think all the perspectives given by Yateen, Kamakshi, then Vinisha, Murali, everyone. I mean, that was so helpful, and I could see that a lot of chats which have come from different participants, talking about the same experience. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective. And I'm sure Sudha will agree that we should now look at the questions from the participants as well. And special request to everyone, before we close, we need to have one photo together as a team. What do you say, Sudha?
Absolutely. I think I was also mindful of the time, Tanu. It would be wonderful, if all of you can come on camera, and then we will do our
Quick group
usual.
photograph.
Yes, absolutely. Give us a couple of minutes, because Tanu might need time to move into the different screens, isn't it, Tanu?
Yes.
So every time you can give us an indication so that we can give our smiling faces out there.
Sure.
So requesting all those behind with the screens off to please switch on your videos probably for just a few seconds till Tanu finishes taking the photograph. Thank you so
Yes,
much. We'd love to
absolutely.
see the faces behind. Absolutely raining smiles, Dr. Murthy.
Okay, so here I'm clicking the first one. Okay, how do I do that? Yes, I have one, and I'm moving to the next screen now. Interesting. I like those smiles. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanu. And we would love for you to stay on the video if that's comfortable for you. And we would love to open the session for any questions that you may want to ask. While we have seen your chat, it would be lovely if you can unmute yourself and ask your question. And if you have this question in particular, you want somebody to answer, please direct it towards them. Otherwise, anybody would take it.
I think Dhwani Shah asked one question. Dhwani, if you're there, you can ask that question because there's a confusion for everyone. What's the difference between group coaching and facilitation?
Yes, Yateen, that was my question. So I've just begun my coaching journey. It's been a few months now, and I did attend the team coaching module as well. But somehow I'm still, taking some time to imbibe the learning. I remember asking the same question to my facilitator there as well, but I want to hear it from all of you. What is the difference between team coaching and facilitation for groups?
To be on a better side, let's get answers from ICF as well as IAF, how they look at it. That would work best.
In fact, Ravi, would you like to answer that question? You're a team coach, I know that. Ravi, are you there?
Just a second, let me check.
Okay.
So I think in facilitation, what we do is we use certain processes and methods. Okay. But in team coaching, I think we strictly work as a coach, right? So which means you ask questions, you're aware of the team dynamics or the group dynamics, you're aware of the processes that happen as a group process, but you really don't employ any facilitative method, so to speak. Because if you employ a facilitative method, then it would not be considered as a team coaching, right? So, for example, there are processes which can be done for decision making, for example, right? Or so there are facilitative processes which diverge and converge and rotation, revolution. There are multiple processes you can use. Whereas if you're a purely classical team coach, you're aware of the differences, or you're aware of what's going on in the group, and then you start asking questions, right? You're raising awareness. They're working on something, and then you're asking questions. So that would be the basic difference. But again, like I said, there will be times where you will be facilitating, right? For example, there's one person who is very quiet in the group, in a group coaching or a team coaching session. You might want to address a question to that person. By doing that intervention, you're not being a team coach, but you're being a facilitator, right? So I think these are some slight nuances. But yeah, strictly speaking, you're not employing any facilitative methods. You're only doing classical coaching. That would be team coaching for a group. That's what my take is.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Murali. We have Yateen back.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add on to what Murali said. I go a step further. I use many of the activities also, some of them impromptu. Okay. So as a facilitator, I have the whole repertoire available with me. There are processes and then there are experiential activities. Then coming back to coaching, either during session or at the end of it or as a follow-up, that helps me my way. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
In fact, giving the ICF perspective here, especially when we talk about team coaching, right? Team coaching includes all of these modalities, whether it is training, whether it's consulting, whether it's facilitation. We use all of this, which is inclusive and part of team coaching. And in fact, ICF says this, right? They say that, facilitation is more about enhancing the communication and achieving clarity. And they say that, while I don't completely agree to it, because the work remains at the surface, meaning more at the group level, whereas they say team coaching goes a little deeper than facilitation, exploring the subsurface, the dynamics of the individual team member, their personalities, the group dynamics, and how they actually affect the team performance and things like that. In fact, there is a call out, if I remember right, that they say there might not be a very crisp distinction between team coaching and facilitation. But a team coach should be able to move in this continuum called facilitation and coaching. And a good team coach will be able to move seamlessly anywhere on the continuum. I think that's what we've been discussing throughout in this conversation today. While, as Murali said, right, we might have our own definitions, we may have our own theories and distinctions, but in the way in reality it plays out, I think it's the fluidity and the ease with which we move between these continuum. And as very rightly pointed out by Yateen, you need to master both of this so that you allow it to emerge as to what would really be more meaningful in that situation.
Great. Thank you so much, Sudha, for adding that, and to all the other panelists. We have Amlesh hands raised, and yes.
So a very quick comment on, coaching, team coaching and facilitation. And as I have been a practitioner of all three, I can tell you that team coaching, to me at least, is in between coaching and facilitation. And what I'm trying to say here, that inherent potential and the answers within is common in all three. I bring lot of elements of coaching into team coaching and lot of processes of facilitation into team coaching. And that's how, say, you cannot step back in team coaching completely the way you can do in individual. Like silence is really, really golden in individual coaching. But in team coaching, you need to come in. I mean, that's how, because there are 8 different people, they may be part of a team. They may come from different functions. And even group coaching, it is even more intense that you bring in some processes, which is like guiding them, which is not strictly in line to what ICF tells you when you do individual coaching, right? But then you need to bring in, and that's why I look at coaching here, team coaching here, and facilitation after that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that perspective, Amlesh. I have now the next one, Dhwani Shah's hand raised. So Dhwani, you have a question?
Yeah, it was actually a follow-up question based on the responses that I got for my previous one. I have one more question on, the difference between team coaching and group process facilitation. This is with respect to the outcome. So in group process facilitation, what we see is that when we see the participants kind of getting digress, right? We take their permission and, we try to park their questions or certain, emerging needs for a later time. But not so in team coaching. Am I right? In team coaching, we need to address, or we need to be a little bit more fluid and let the discussions go the way they are. We let the chaos go through. Am I right?
Yes, or rather, we hold the chaos and we, put back the question to the team. What does the silence mean for them in that moment? Or what is this chaos telling them about them? Right? I think it's if I need to actually call out the difference, right? The ownership, I would say, in a facilitation is both facilitator and the team or the group here. But the ownership in team coaching is the team. It's not the team coach.
Okay, interesting.
And Dhwani, also understand a group is not necessarily a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Thanks for calling that out, Shiva. Yes, a group is not a team and
Absolutely.
a team is not a group.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. So just allow me a moment. Let me check if there is any question.
Amlesh, you have your hand raised from the previous time, or you have another question?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, I think we have one question from Sengu, I think, so he says that the coaching industry in India appears to be quite crowded. As clients, how can we select the right coach?
Shiva, would you want to take that?
Okay, interesting question. For the population that we have, we barely have any number of coaches, right? But probably because you're associating with a certain group of people, it's looking like it's very crowded, all right? I remember last 2-3 years ago when I checked the whole of India, we had only around 2,000 certified coaches. The number must have increased by another 500 or 600, but not more than that. And that's not crowded really for India. And there's so much work to be done with MSMEs and other players in the market. But if you're looking for coaches, what is your intention again? What's the outcome? Are you looking for a coach for your own personal development, or are you looking for somebody in the organization that you want to bring about organizational change? That would be one thing. So you look at their competencies and their record. I think that's one good way to do a chemistry session with a coach. Get to know them, see whether they are compatible with you, and do your values and language help understand each other. I think that would be one way of figuring out if a coach matches your needs.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, coaching is, is industry agnostic. Many a times I have seen people ask for a coach who has worked in a particular industry. I think that's not the way to select a coach.
Okay.
Industry experience is absolutely not necessary for a coach. What is really required is, like I think Shivdasini said, coaching is a professionally intimate relationship. Now, professional and intimate may sound very paradoxical and oxymoronic, but that's what it is. So if you are not able to, as a client, if you are not able to build that intimate relationship, if you have that sense, then I think you should not select that person as a coach. It's true for the coach as well. The coach could also decline to work with a particular client, primarily because, the coach feels that it's not possible for them to build a relationship with this person. So I think it's completely relationship based. And I think we talked about trust earlier on. That's very, very important for you to really, that's why the chemistry session is very important. Many a times clients come into chemistry sessions without knowing what to look for. I think that's also another challenge that we have in the country.
And I'd also like to just add here, power dynamics is something that should not come between the coach and the coachee. So ensuring that if it's an organization looking for a coach, as Murali and Shiva rightly put, it's important to have the chemistry session with the coach and the coachee. Many a times, the client or the HR may just say, okay, we are good, we're happy with you. But what's important is their relationship, the coach and coachee relationship, and ensuring there's no power dynamics in that. You could have a very senior coach, but I mean by senior coach with many years of experience, and someone who's probably a junior in the organization, 10, 15 years. That should not come in the way between the coach and the coach. Yeah.
Not just that, I think I would just quickly say this. There is a culture nowadays happening to cultivate the coaches within organization and do the work. So somewhere the neutrality factor, goes away. And that's why outside coach or a neutral coach or a neutral facilitator is actually appropriate. However, just looking at the cost benefit analysis, people do a lot of in-house coaches. Another aspect is crowded is the word I may not choose to use. In my opinion, every single person need a coach. So effectively, if I see entire India is accredited coach, then I can say, oh, now we are crowded. But still, all of us will have business. Okay. So somewhere crowded is not the word. Yeah, thank you. I'm done.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. And I totally agree with what Murali sir mentioned. I'm experiencing this. I mean, just before this session, I was in a peer coaching with a CA with 20 years of experience. and she was able to understand me. And when I did the coaching, I was able to understand her. And I think towards the end, we were discussing, okay, when next to meet. So it's about the relationship and the connect which you are able to create, which will help you understand, yeah, this is my coach. And as Yateen rightly mentioned, that if that, and even Vinisha mentioned, if in case that feeling is okay, yes, this is the one, be it from the coachee, be it from the coach, I think that's the right person for you. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
One last point I want to make on the relationship. It's an egalitarian, professionally intimate relationship. The coach does not hold a high position. That's why, knowledge is not really required. Knowledge, when I mean formal knowledge, but they need to be certified. They need to know the human processes. Those things are required. But otherwise, they don't need any special, knowledge in the industry or in the skill or whatever. Right? So it's more of a reflective space. So that's, I think, a very important point. And most organizations have not understood that, and they select coaches in a very different way. And that's where the problem is actually.
In fact, adding to what you're all saying, I think there's so much work that a coach also needs to do in terms of educating organizations, even the HR sometimes, to call out the difference between mentoring and coaching, because these words are also very interchangeably used. I'm sure all the coaches here working with organizations would understand. Probably many times the first, discovery session or the first meeting that we have with the organization, most part is spent in that to clarify. As Murali very rightly said, it is industry agnostic. We don't need to know. We don't have to share their expertise, their technical knowledge. We don't need it, actually. It's the mentors who might probably need it, not the coaches. So we need to call out these differences, I feel, and as a coach, we also need to educate the industry, the organization, the community.
True.
So just like we promoting the power of process facilitation, coaching is also celebrating the coaching week to promote the difference between coaching and mentoring. And I'm sure a lot of industries are taking the support of this week and ensuring they do get sessions from certified coaches, facilitators across the country and the world, actually, globally.
So as you say this, Vinisha, something has just popped in. So we call about these professions in terms of facilitation, coaching, and we also say that these are helping professionals, right? And the moment we say we are helping professionals, knowingly or unknowingly, we keep ourselves on a pedestal because we think we are helping someone. Maybe in the initial phases of our careers, definitely. But eventually you will know that by helping someone, even you are helping yourself. There's a transformation happening both ways as you listen to people and their experiences. Transformation cannot happen just to your client. It happens to you too. And there are so many layers which are answered in yourself too as you're mirroring your client. So when you look at that, you are more refined. So sometimes when we look at these certifications, this is my understanding. When I was at my ACC level, it was just a tick mark of, doing 100 hours and, just ask questions, take them to the outcome. And eventually, as you have thousands of hours of experience, it is about the being of the client. And you are vibrating with the client. You are not even trying to build rapport. It is built naturally because you are there for the client. And I think it's such a beautiful intimacy that is in professionalism, intimacy, when oxymoronic, when Murali was saying that, it is so true. But at the end, I'm serving myself by serving others. So
beautiful, Kamakshi. I think that's a wonderful call out.
So thank you so much, Sudha. And then when I'm given the privilege of serving someone, and it is me at the end, it is me at the end of the day. Like if you really look at it from a philosophical perspective or anything, it's you and it's you. So if I'm able to help my client, I'm helping myself. That is an extension of myself again. So everything, like I think I'm just becoming a bit poetic here, but it's like little drops of water, little drops of rain makes a mighty ocean. So each one of us, the little contributions, irrespective of whether they are called out or you get recognition, no recognition, doesn't matter. The moment you start doing it, it is a ripple effect. And the transformation has already begun. And it happens in anonymity sometimes. Sometimes it happens with many applauses, but doesn't matter. The nature keeps using us as a conduit. This is what I feel about facilitation and coaching.
Beautifully put, Kamakshi.
Thank you.
You know, as I was listening to you, we say this, right? This came to my mind. We say this. Nobody can take a dip in the same river twice. They say, right? So I feel like even as coaches or facilitators, we are not the same person who's entering every conversation. The transformation is happening continuously for us. We are not change makers. We are part of the change, actually.
Yeah, actually, I say it to myself that when I'm ready to learn something new, a client appears.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
True.
Yeah. And I think every conversation, there is something for us to take back as well.
Thank you.
I know I'm mindful of the time. I think we are reaching on top of our time. Any last minute sharing that you would like to share?
No, I think it was a wonderful conversation, very synergistic. Though there are classical definitions, but I think we really kind of went beyond boundaries. I'm sure the purists on both sides would possibly be very upset with what we are doing. But I think it's in the right direction to kind of really converge some of these things. I think Shivdasini made this point earlier on, talking about media and internet and all of that. I think in helping professions, there needs to be there's a very strong need for convergence. Therapy, counseling, coaching, mentoring, facilitation. I think you can go on listing them. And just by creating these partitions, I don't know how is it serving entire humanity, but I really see a very strong need for all of this coming together. So I think maybe this is the first step in that direction.
Absolutely.
I'm sure this conversion is definitely helping everyone. Very confident after listening to all of you. So, Sudha, would you like to add in something before we conclude?
No, I was about to say I'm a big champion of inclusion. That's what I do in my other avatar. And I think I cannot hold the stance of exclusivity here. So I would love to, and that's why when this opportunity came by to collaborate with IAF, I said immediately, let's do though, after our India conclave, we were all very tired. Okay, we are done with it. But, immediately we seized this opportunity because big time, I believe in inclusion. And as Murali said, I think all these modalities and the boundaries exist for a different purpose. But as people who are in the work of transformation, I think for us, we need to be seamless and fluid moving between these.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to thank all the panelists for coming in last minute. I know we pulled it off and got everyone. Thank you so much for your time. And I'd also like to thank all the participants for coming and listening to us here today. And we are always there, a WhatsApp away, a call away for any of your questions anytime. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.